We've wanted to do a, we've wanted to do a record a long time together. We've been married 21 years,
yeah,
and we've
exactly.
done a hand.
Yeah. Good for you guys.
At 58, Tim McGraw stands at a crossroads few ever see, carrying the weight of a story the world thought it already knew. For decades, he was the voice of resilience, the man whose songs stitched hope into broken places. Yet behind the curtain, a quieter battle had been carving at him piece by piece. Friends say the signs were always there, hidden in the pauses between his smiles. But what truly pushed him to this breaking point, and why is the truth only surfacing now? Join us as we uncover the tragedy of Tim McGraw that went beyond heartbreak. Tim McGraw's tragedy. In 2003, Tim McGraw was told he had a brain tumor. It was glioblastoma, one of the most aggressive and deadly kinds of brain cancer. The news was heartbreaking. Tim immediately stepped in to help his father in every way possible. He searched for treatments. He found experts. And when it became clear that the doctors at one hospital couldn't help anymore, Tim located another place that offered experimental medicine. The treatment almost cost $6,000 every month. But Tim didn't even think twice. He paid for everything. He even bought his father a motorhome so Tug and the family could travel across the country more comfortably during treatment. As Tug's health got worse, he made one last request. He wanted to spend the rest of his days at Tim's cabin outside Nashville. Tim brought him there. And in that quiet place, surrounded by the family he loved, including the son who spent so many years trying to earn his love, Tug McGraw passed away on January 5, 2004. He was only 59 years old. Tim was crushed. After all those years of trying to build a relationship with his father, they had finally grown close. And then he was gone. But Tim turned his pain into something meaningful. In 2004, he recorded a song called "Live Like You Were Dying." It was dedicated to his father, and it became one of the biggest songs of his entire career. It stayed at #1 on the country music charts for 7 weeks, and was named the top country song of the whole year. Tim also honored his father in another way. He helped create the Tug McGraw Foundation, which supports people dealing with brain tumors and other neurological problems. The foundation helps both children and adults who suffer from traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder. It was Tim's way of making sure his father's struggle would help others. During the 2008 World Series, when the Phillies made it back to the championship for the first time since 1980, Tim threw the first pitch before one of the games. Before he pitched, he sprinkled some of his father's ashes on the mound, bringing Tug back to the field where he had once achieved his greatest victory. But the health issues aren't the only heartbreak Tim has faced lately. In July 2024, Tim lost someone who meant a great deal to him, his Uncle Hank. He was a true leader in the McGraw family, and his death was a huge blow. Tim shared the sad news on social media, posting photos of his uncle and writing about what an incredible man he was. Uncle Hank had a special way of brightening any room he entered. He was honest, even when the truth was hard to hear. He was a true All-American who played professional baseball for 11 years, had a beautiful singing voice, played guitar, and was a talented craftsman. He told the best stories, and for Tim, who had lost his own father 20 years earlier, Uncle Hank had been like a second father and a strong family link. Losing him was another painful loss. You might think that after beating addiction, losing his father, and building a successful career and family, Tim McGraw would finally catch a break. But life had other plans. So, was he able to bounce back? Let's find out what happened next. Tim's shocking comeback. Tim is now in his late 50s. He has been touring for more than 30 years, and his body has taken a hit. Only 3 weeks into his 2024 standing room only tour, he began having serious knee problems. The pain was so bad, he could barely perform. He needed surgery right away. Tim underwent a double knee replacement, meaning both knees were replaced at the same time. The recovery was extremely painful, and while he was healing from that, his back began acting up. Years of performing, running around on stage, and high-energy shows had worn down his spine too. He needed back surgery, not once, but 3 times. 3 separate back surgeries while recovering from 2 new knees. The pain was unbearable. Tim had to cancel the rest of his 2024 tour. Fans were disappointed, but they understood that Tim was suffering. In early 2025, he faced another tough decision. He had agreed to star in and help produce a new rodeo-themed series for Netflix. It was supposed to be an exciting new chapter, a chance to combine his acting ability with his love for country culture. But his back problems were still so serious that he had to quit the entire project. Netflix continued with the show without him. For someone who spent his whole life working and performing, being forced to step back was painful. Tim later admitted in interviews that the spring before his final back surgery was one of the lowest points of his life. The pain was so intense that he seriously thought about retiring from music for good. He tried to figure out how to say goodbye to the career he loved. He didn't want to quit, but he wasn't sure his body could take it anymore. Thankfully, after his final back surgery, things slowly began to improve. Tim started to feel hope again. He realized that maybe, just maybe, he could keep performing. But the recovery has been long and extremely difficult. An insider said that Tim has been in serious pain, and that after the surgery, he would need many months to recover and go through physical therapy. Through all of this, Tim's wife, Faith, has stayed right beside him. Just like she stood by him during his struggle with alcohol, she has been supporting him through these new health problems too. People close to the family say Faith has been amazing at keeping Tim's attitude strong. She keeps reminding him to look at what he still has and to stay grateful. Her support has meant everything to him as he tries to get through these hard times. In late 2024, Tim shared some exciting news, a collaboration with the legendary Barbra Streisand. They recorded a duet together called I Love Us, which was included on Streisand's album. Tim said he felt incredibly honored to be invited to sing with such a music icon. Then, in May 2025, Tim announced his first concert in almost a year. He's set to perform at the Music City Rodeo in Nashville. It will be his first time on stage since all his surgeries and health struggles. But what else did Tim McGraw reveal? Let's take a closer look. Faith Hill's health struggle. Tim has also opened up about something that shows his struggles go far beyond physical pain. He shared that his wife, Faith, has been dealing with her own health problems serious enough that she needed surgery. Over the past 2 years, Faith has quietly stepped back from the public eye. She hasn't performed in more than 2 years, she hasn't recorded any new music, and she even deleted every one of her social media accounts. Tim and Faith have never shared the full details of what she's going through, but it's obvious that the two of them have been facing a heavy and emotional chapter together. It's one thing to deal with your own pain, but it's an entirely different kind of heartbreak to watch the person you love struggle while you're hurting too. It creates a weight that sits on your shoulders every single day. On top of that, Tim is also dealing with something that every performer eventually has to face: the reality of getting older in an industry that worships youth. In his new song, King Rodeo, he opens up about aging and all the challenges that come with it. For someone who built his entire career on high-energy shows, non-stop movement, and pure physical strength, accepting the limits of an aging body has been incredibly hard. He's had to accept that he can't push himself the way he used to. His body now needs more rest, more care, more time to heal. Recovery takes longer. Simple things feel heavier. And for someone with Tim's determination and work ethic, slowing down feels almost like failure, even though it's something his body desperately needs. When you look at Tim McGraw's life from the outside, it's easy to see only the success. The sold-out concerts, the #1 hits, the awards, the beautiful family, the fame. But behind all that shine is a man who has been fighting battles many people would never survive. He was once a little boy who found out his father didn't want him. A young man who kept reaching out and getting rejected, yet refused to give up. A husband and father who realized his addiction was hurting the people he loved most, and somehow found the strength to stop. A son who finally built a relationship with his father, only to lose him soon after. A performer whose body is wearing down after decades of giving everything he had to the stage. A man watching his wife face serious health problems while he battles his own pain. At 58 years old, Tim McGraw has been through tragedies that would break most people. But what makes his story so powerful? Could it be about his childhood? Let's find out. The heartbreaking beginning of Tim. Tim McGraw was born in 1967 in a tiny little place called Start, Louisiana. His mother, Betty, was only 18 years old and working as a waitress, doing everything she could to get by. His father was a young baseball player named Tug McGraw, who at the time was still playing in the minor leagues. But here's the painful part. Tug wanted nothing to do with the baby. He walked away before Tim was even born, chasing his dream of becoming a baseball star. Betty later married a truck driver named Horace Smith, and for the first 11 years of his life, Tim truly believed Horace was his real father. He grew up as Tim Smith in a home that struggled with money. Life wasn't easy, and they didn't have a lot. But Horace gave Tim one unforgettable gift. He introduced him to country music. Those songs became the soundtrack of Tim's entire childhood. Everything changed when Tim was 11 years old. He was digging through his mother's closet, trying to find a picture for a school assignment, when he found something he wasn't supposed to see: his birth certificate. The last name wasn't Smith, and where his father's name should have been, someone had scratched it out. Only one detail was still visible: his father's occupation. Baseball player. Tim's world fell apart in a single moment. He went to his mother for answers, and she finally told him the truth. His real father was Tug McGraw, who by then had become a well-known major league pitcher for teams like the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. Finding out at 11 years old that your identity wasn't what you thought, and that your real father was a millionaire baseball star who had denied your existence, most kids would be angry or broken. But Tim saw things differently. Even at that young age, he understood something powerful. If his father had succeeded despite growing up with similar struggles, then maybe he could succeed too. The same blood ran through his veins, the same drive. It gave him hope. But meeting his father was not simple. Betty contacted Tug and arranged a meeting. Tim was both thrilled and terrified. He was finally going to see the famous man who had given him life. But when they met, Tug was cold. He told his 11-year-old son that he had a different family now and couldn't be a father to him. Imagine hearing that from the one person you wanted acceptance from. Still, Tim didn't quit. He wrote letter after letter, trying to form some kind of connection. Tug ignored him for 7 more years. 7 years of hoping and wondering why his own father didn't want him. When Tim was 12, his mother took him to see Tug play at the Astrodome in Houston. With the help of Tug's lawyer, they got tickets that Tug left for them. Tim was excited beyond words. Maybe this would finally be the moment his father acknowledged him. During warm-ups, Tug was doing a trick where he caught baseballs behind his back. Tim started shouting his name over and over, trying desperately to get his attention. He yelled for 30 minutes straight. But Tug never looked up. He didn't even glance in his son's direction. Tim eventually walked back to his seat, crushed. He wouldn't see his father again until he was 18. When Tim turned 17, everything started to change. His mother was still struggling with money, while Tug was living a wealthy athlete's life. She finally decided to take action and filed a lawsuit for child support. Louisiana demanded $350,000 in back payments. Tug's lawyers reached out and offered a deal. Tug would pay for Tim's college education, take a paternity test, and finally meet with him. The test confirmed what everyone already knew. Tim was his son. Slowly, father and son began building a relationship. It wasn't easy. Tug later admitted that even when Tim was in college, they still kept a distance, unsure how to act around each other. But little by little, they started to bond. Tim eventually changed his last name from Smith to McGraw, taking his father's surname. And when Tug saw that Tim was truly serious about becoming a musician, he tried to help him however he could. What challenges did Tim face in the process? Let's find out. Tim McGraw's struggles. During a team party with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1990, Tug met an executive from a Nashville record label. He handed him Tim's demo tape, and that simple moment changed everything. Because of that connection, Tim got his very first record deal. Tug even bought Tim a van so his band could travel from show to show. Tim's career truly exploded in the 1990s. He released hit after hit. Songs like Don't Take the Girl, It's Your Love, and Just to See You Smile turned him into one of the biggest names in country music. He won Grammy Awards and sold millions of albums. He also fell in love with another country superstar, Faith Hill, and the two of them got married in 1996. Together, they had 3 beautiful daughters, Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Tim McGraw had achieved the life he once only dreamed of. He had overcome a painful childhood and built a shining future. But behind the scenes, Tim was fighting a battle that nobody could see. He had started drinking too much. It began as something that seemed normal in the music world, having drinks before a show to calm his nerves, drinking at parties, drinking at events. But it kept getting worse. Tim later admitted that he performed almost every single show drunk. He said he could count on one hand the number of times he stepped on stage sober. Alcohol was no longer just a habit. It was controlling his life. He drank whiskey constantly, and once he started, he couldn't stop at just one drink. The people around him noticed. His family became worried. His wife, Faith, watched the man she loved slowly fade into addiction. The drinking started damaging his relationship with his daughters. It began affecting his work. Deep down, Tim understood what was happening. He could feel himself changing into someone he didn't want to be. Someone who embarrassed his wife. Someone who set a terrible example for his children. Someone who was risking everything that mattered. And the worst part was that he felt powerless to stop it. Then, in 2008, Faith reached her breaking point. After 13 years of marriage and 3 children, she gave Tim an ultimatum. He had to choose between his rock star lifestyle and his family. It was simple, but it was deadly serious. If he didn't change, he would lose the people he loved most. Around that same time, Tim went to the movies with his 12-year-old daughter. Sitting in the dark theater, looking at his little girl, something clicked inside him. He suddenly understood that his drinking could steal moments like this. It could steal his daughter's childhoods. It could destroy his marriage. It could even take his life. So Tim made a decision that took enormous courage. He quit drinking, and he didn't cut back or try to drink less. He quit completely, all at once. The most unbelievable part is that he quit on the very first day of a major concert tour in May 2008. The night before the tour began, he had what he later called a complete blowout, a final binge. Then, the next morning, he started his tour totally sober. For years, he had relied on alcohol to steady his nerves before stepping on stage. Now he had to perform in front of thousands of people with nothing but his own strength. He later admitted it was the hardest tour of his entire life. But Tim didn't just stop drinking. He replaced the addiction with something healthy. He threw himself into fitness. He began working out 3 times a day, sometimes for 90 minutes each session. Before every show, he would run 4 to 5 miles. His body transformed. In his 40s to late 40s, he built muscles and energy levels that made him feel half his age. But even more important was the change in his mind. Exercise gave him the natural adrenaline and confidence he needed to perform. It distracted him from cravings. After long, intense workouts, he was so mentally exhausted that alcohol didn't even cross his mind. Now, Tim has been sober for over 16 years. He openly admits that staying sober is never easy. It's not a straight line. There are hard days and setbacks. It's something he has to work on every single day for the rest of his life. And while Tim was working on his sobriety and rebuilding his life, something else beautiful was happening. He was also repairing his relationship with his father. Over the years, Tug and Tim grew closer. They moved past the pain and rejection of the early days. They built a real bond. So, what do you think about Tim McGraw's struggles? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.